So hello there, welcome to the second video of the cinematic showdown. Round one's done now, we're moving on to round two. Very exciting times. Before I get on to round two though, we're going to breeze through the results. See who went through, see which films I liked, which I didn't like. It was a tough first round, I wouldn't lie. Everyone stepped up their A game, I have to be honest. The first competition I did last year, we had Scorpion King, we had some real rubbish ones. Whereas this year, it's like, oh, actually, okay, we got some good results there. Okay, everyone, there was no bad movie, So there's actually some parents that was very tough. I won't lie, there was. Parent one, we had Emil versus Ezra, and Riders of Justice. I loved. I really loved that. I thought it was gonna be just like your generic kind of like comedy, kind of like Nobody or John Wick kind of rip off. But it wasn't. It was actually really good, and the story was good. There was a little twist in there, and yeah, I really loved that one. Garden of Words, I did like. Garden of Words, but it didn't quite get as good. I think the fact that it was shorter definitely hampered it for me. And visually, it was amazing. But I think just what I definitely preferred Riders of Justice. And I think the fun thing is that, in these moments on the day when I've watched them, it's kind of tough. But now looking back, because that was probably a week ago for me now, looking back, I'm like, yeah, I did prefer that. Like, after a bit of time, you kind of do know you made the right choice. So, yeah, Emil goes through there, definitely. Fixture 2, we had Aaron, who picked Itchy the Killer, and Hugo, who picked Perfect Days. Now, I'm going to be right honest right there. Perfect Days was the best movie of the whole competition so far, in this round. And it was just my kind of movie. I knew it would be. I wanted to watch it last year when it came out, and I didn't get to. And I just knew I was going to love it. I did love it. It's one of those kind of like, you see life differently kind of movies. And you really do. And I really, really loved it. Itchy the Killer was good. I did like that one. It was a bit weird in a good way. I kind of wanted it to be a bit weird. But yeah, just sadly, it didn't quite reach the level to compete with Perfect Days. But then again, nothing would have. Anyone going to get up against Hugo in this round wouldn't have gone through. Itchy the Killer, I did like. It was very weird, very, very strange. And what I will say about Itchy the Killer is that even though it wasn't good enough to go through, it was a very strong contender for the wildcard slot, which I'll talk about later. I'll talk about after I go through the rounds. But yeah, the wildcard is very possible for Aaron. So then we had Jay versus Jaden, Battle of the Jays. And I must say, Jay wins. No, Metropolis was great. Great little animated movie. It kind of reminded me of Akira. It wasn't quite as good as Akira, but it was, it was on that level. Whereas The Sadness, I just didn't like it, if I'm honest. It wasn't bad, and there was some really cool moments. It was definitely like a different take on zombies. But as a movie, it wasn't for me. I didn't like it. Oscar versus Izzy was a tough one as well. They were both kind of like, it was probably the closest pairing, I would say. Could have really been a flip of a coin. The only thing for me was that Weathering with You was just like a weaker version of a couple other movies I've seen, whereas at least Izzy's choice was something different and something fresh. And to be fair, I did like it. I did like both of them. It's just at the end of the day, I was like, which one do I actually prefer? Which one would I watch again? Which one kind of had more to it? And for me, it was In the House. It really was. And I was kind of worried to put Izzy through. If anything, I almost fought against it because I was like, oh, it's going to look like I'm doing it just because Izzy's my wife. I can promise you, if it was anyone other than Izzy who had chosen that, they would have easily gone through. I kind of was hesitant to do it because of Izzy. So yeah, definitely no favoritism there, and Izzy progresses. Then we had Aaron versus Scott. Now this was a very tough one, and also I felt conflicted here. Aaron picked Tampico, which I was really happy by. It was like this food one, very, very interesting food one. A lot of interesting moments, especially with like an egg yolk. There's a very, very, very fun bit there. But Scott had chosen one that I had already seen, and not just one that I'd already seen, but one that I loved. So I felt it was unfair to let him pick that, but he kind of didn't want to pick another one. So I had to give him a different movie that was by the same director, and I'll be honest, I didn't like it. It was okay. I gave it, I'd give it like a 3.5 out of 5. When I say I didn't like it, that's unfair, but I mean, compared to Aaron's choice, it was not as good. And it was just kind of like fine. It was a bit forgettable. It was just kind of like standard, if that makes sense. It was like a Sunday afternoon movie. Whereas Aaron's was a choice that I would definitely rewatch and I would recommend to people, which I can't say for Scott's choice. So Aaron goes through. Andy versus Lewis was probably the most polarizing choices. We had Kung Fu Hustle for Andy, and Lewis had La Dolce Vita. La Dolce Vita was an interesting pick because it was 3 hours long, so it's a bit risky, but it was definitely the better choice. Kung Fu Hustle was good. It was a classic kind of martial art movie, Kung Fu Panda, all those kind of films. But it was just like there wasn't enough there to make it, there wasn't enough there that I hadn't seen in other movies, if I'm being honest. The soundtrack was great. And again, none of these movies were bad in any of these pairings, but it's just compared to La Dolce Vita, which is a movie I feel like I could watch again, see some different depth to it, have some different, meanings that I recognize. Whereas, I don't know, I just feel like La Dolce Vita is like the more appealing choice. So that's the one I went for. Zara vs. Zach was probably the second closest battle, I would say. We had Sarah, who chose A Dog's Will, which I did like, although I went into it way too excited because I had heard a lot about that one. Where Zach chose a very random one called Deerskin, which was more isolated, smaller cast. So it was tough because Zach's, I'll be honest, looking at the premise of it, I was like, okay, sounds okay. So Zach's had this expectation, Sarah had the expectation up here, and it ended up being like that. So even though I preferred Sarah's, Zach got a lot closer than I thought he would. And I would say this, Zach was the only person after the parents that was like, he's definitely going through. Because his choice could have probably beat a couple of the other winners, if I'm honest. He might have beaten Emil, he might have beat, he definitely would have beat Izzy, and he probably would have beat Jay. So Zach was a definite wild card, he's going through. But Sarah wins the parents. Final pairing, we have Chris versus Jody. Chris went Iron Monkey, which was actually pretty good. It was actually really good. Jody went the Go with the Dragon tattoo, which I've seen before, but I've seen the remake, not the Swedish version. And it was good, to be honest. They were both really good, both really strong choices. I lean more towards Iron Monkey, but again, Jody was kind of like a guaranteed wild card, let's say. Or at least a very strong likelihood. Moving on to the wild cards, though. The people we've gone through is Zach, Erin, Jody, and Jaden. So once the wild cards were picked, that teed things up nicely for the next round, which was a horror movie round. I will say I've been very generous with the horror. So if there's some thrillers, I've had thrillers. But the category was horror. And I won't lie, it's some strong choices. The other thing about this round is that it's 1 versus 1 versus 1 as opposed to just 1 versus 1. So it's 3 people in one fixture, which is kind of crazy. Fixture 1 though, we have Zach, who has picked Session 9, Hugo, who's picked I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and Emil, who has picked Happy Death Day. Obviously, Zach's the wildcard there. The other two have gone through from winning the last round. And I won't lie, each of those movies I'm very excited to watch. Session 9, I think, is either going to be a stinker or my favourite of the whole competition. Hugo's is definitely more of a thriller. Very excited to see that, though. That could be a strong contender. If Hugo has a strong choice there, that's two bangers in a row. Emil's, I'll be honest, Emil's is tough. I don't know if Emil's going to go through. I've seen the sequel to Happy Death Day, and it's just kind of like, it's fine. I enjoyed it. But I don't think there's any chance I'm going to end up giving that one like a 4 or 5. But who knows, if the other two flop, I think that was like a guaranteed 3, So if the other two flop, maybe he'll go through. Following that, we have Izzy, Jody, and Jay. Not Jaden, Jay. I almost said Jaden then. Izzy has gone for one called Hush, which I'm impressed by because I didn't even know I thought she was going to give her like a really bad kind of like Annabelle or Conjuring or something. She's gone Hush, which actually looks good. It's got good ratings. I've seen this about like a deaf woman who has like a burglar, and it just sounds like it could be good. Jodie has gone for Malignant, I think it's called Malignant, which again it looks fine, it looks like a good movie. I don't know too much about that one. And Jay has gone for Jacob's Ladder, which from other people who knows about that, they've told me that one's really good. Okay, I don't know anything about any of those besides what I've said. But that one's a very, very strong round. Even round 1 was a strong round, but fixture 2 is also strong. Fixture 3, though, is a bit of a weak link. If I'm being honest, it's a bit of a weak link. We have Aaron, who's gone with Lights Out, which I've seen, okay? Aaron has already started on my bad books, because he's the only one who's picked one that I've seen. And it's kind of like, it's never been against the rules to pick one I've seen, but it's kind of like, say if his opponents are equal level, I'm definitely going to prefer the ones who have suggested something new, if that makes sense. However, being said that, he could still go through very easily because he's up against Would You Rather, which I think is going to be a typical kind of modern sloppy horror. Could still be good because, if I'm hoping it's just Would You Rather's and then some of them are quite bad, kind of Saw-esque, I guess. And then he's also up against Arsenic and Old Lace, which is a really good movie that I've seen. It's got high ratings, blah, blah, blah. But it's not a horror or a thriller. And I don't know what to do now. But then it's like, if he's the best movie, I don't know. We'll see. That one's a little bit of an asterisk. In the final one now, we have definitely the toughest fixture, which is Sarah versus Chris versus Jaden. Jaden has gone for one called Possum. Obviously, he's the wild card. He lost the last round. He's still gone through. He's picked a strong movie. It's an hour 20, which is strong. It's on Amazon Prime for free, which we always love. And yeah, that one looks really good. Sarah Voe has gone for one called Deep Red, which is by the director who did the first Suspiria. So I'm very excited to see that. Everyone who has seen that Sarah's picked that, who have seen Deep Red, have gone, oh, that's good. So Sarah's a strong choice to go for as well. And then Chris has gone for one called Experiment in Terror, or something like that. Experiments in Terror. And again, I know he's seen it. He gave it a 3.5 on Letterboxd, which for Chris is high. No one ever gets a 3.5 from Chris. No one ever gets more than a 3.5 from Chris, is what I meant to say. And yeah, that's a tough trio. I won't lie. Any of those could win the whole competition. So those three against each other is harsh. But yeah, so that is round 2 summarized. I will be back in probably about 2 weeks or so when I've watched all of those. I really don't know now. We're really getting to like the strong, Zach, Hugo, Emil. All of those are worthy finalists. You got Izzy, Jody, J. I mean, I'll be honest, Izzy and Jody, I didn't expect them to get this far, but there's no reason why they can't go further. Lewis, Aaron, and Aaron are definitely the weakest trio there, and that's not to say about their movie taste in general. They've got great, I love George of the Jungle, but in this round, that's definitely the weakest fixtures. There's no easy winner there for me. And yeah, and then Sarah, Chris, and Jaden are... I'm going to feel horrible knocking any of those out. There is also a wild card, 2 wild cards, so 2 losers from the whole group is going to still go through. I don't know who those are yet, obviously, but yeah. So that's going to tee us up for a semi-final of a 1 versus 1 versus 1, a 1 versus 1 versus 1, and then 2 goes through to the final. So yeah, who knows? We will see, and I'm very excited to see how this goes. That is round 2, though. Very excited. Round 1 was good, and yeah, let's just get to round 2. Thanks for watching. I have been James. I'll see you next time. Bye.